Hysteria is this cute little period British comedy about the invention of the vibrator. I bet that got your attention. At least that's what the trailers led me to believe. But unfortunately, in the final act of this movie, it kind of gets hijacked by one of the secondary characters. So the action takes place in late 19th century UK. And what's going on this time is that women were diagnosed with this disease called hysteria. And the symptoms were melancholy, irritability, lack of sexual response, depression, basically all the symptoms of just having a shitty life. But women were getting diagnosed with this fake disease, and what the gynecologists discovered is that, lo and behold, if you give a lady orgasms, she's gonna feel better. Mystery of science solved. So women were going to doctor offices and they were getting hand jobs, basically. There was nothing sexual about this. It was like going to a chiropractor or something like that. So one of the characters that kind of gets roped into this is a young doctor called Mortimer Granville. And what he discovers later on is that if you take an electrical appliance that vibrates and put it up against a lady's most intimate areas, you will get effects faster and better, not harder, just better, than using the traditional digital method. First of all, warning for all you pervs that are rushing out to see this. There is nothing shown in this movie. It's the epitome of Victorian cinema. Nothing is shown. There's not even a hint of a pubic hair in this movie. But the film is very cute. It's very charming. It's very innocent in a way. You have a lot of secondary characters that each of them have something that pops. First of all, there's of course Mortimer Granville, who's played by Hugh Dancy, who's at his most neurotic. His best friend is played by Rupert Everett, and he's the inventor. He's the one that actually plays around with all the electrical appliances, and he's also a little bit of an uber-sexual. Always lovely Gemma Atherton plays one of the romantic interests, while Maggie Gyllenhaal plays the other romantic interest. Maggie Gyllenhaal's character is the one that eventually hijacks the movie. And I say that because in the last act, the vibrator has been invented. It's a huge success. Everybody's getting orgasms, which by the way are not even called orgasms. They're called hysterical paroxysms, I think. So the vibrator is alive and well. The technology is taking off. And the movie transforms into like this parable of gender equality, the struggle for women's rights, and so on and so forth. Now, I'm a bit of a feminist myself, but that doesn't change the fact that at the end of the movie, this person, Maggie Gyllenhaal's character, who is an activist for women's rights, still needs to have her ass saved by the males. This is the problem that I have with movies like this, and Mirror Mirror, that claim to have a feminist message. It's not a feminist message if all you're doing is convincing the male characters in the movie, oh yes, I guess we're equal, but then they still have to do all the actual saving and all the actual work. You should think of plots where women actually prevail through their own efforts, not just convince the males that, oh, I guess we're equal, but still the males still have to do all the meaningful stuff. So I can't help but think that Hysteria is a bit of a wasted opportunity. I loved two-thirds of this movie. I loved it as a period piece. I loved it as a comedy because there's some really funny stuff in here. And it's just funny to think what it was like, what the atmosphere on the set was like when they had to film some of the scenes that they had to film. Also, another warning to all the pervs, if I still haven't convinced you that you shouldn't see this for the promise of poontang, or whatever you kids are calling it these days. All the women that actually get worked on in this movie, you kind of look like your grandma, or your mom, or your nasty boss, or something like that. All the good-looking women never get anywhere near the doctor's table.